Hello again, everyone. Dan Kelly at the Forum in Montreal, along with Gary Dornhofer and Dick Irvin. And will this be the final game of the 1979 Stanley Cup playoffs? Will the Montreal Canadiens be presented with their 22nd Stanley Cup? Or will the New York Rangers force the series back to Madison Square Garden for another game, a sixth game on Thursday night? Both teams are on the ice. We're just moments away from the national anthems of Canada and the United States. And then ready for hockey. Again, John Davidson, one of the big stories of the Rangers this year in the Gold Crease. And we are ready now for the national anthems of Canada and the United States, featuring Mr. Roger Doucette.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, Canada, terre de nos aïeux, t'offrons les seins de fleurs glorieux, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. Ô Canada, glorious and free, we stand on guard for rights and liberty. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for
This Montreal Forum is always an electric place, but in anticipation of perhaps the Stanley Cup presentation here this evening, it is just a little more so. The officials, Dave Newell, the referee, the linesmen are Matt Pavlich and Claude Béchard. And the starting goaltenders for the Rangers, as he has in every game of the playoffs, 17 previously, John Davidson will get the starting call. At the other end, for the Montreal Canadiens, it will be Ken Dryden, who has played in 15 games in the playoffs thus far. So Davidson starting for the Rangers and Dryden for the Canadiens. Referee Dave Newell ready to drop the puck. And we are ready for game 5. Phil Esposito against Jarvis, and Esposito cleared it immediately to the Canadiens line. Robinson flipped it out. Vadanen shot it back in. Canadiens work it to Savard. He flips it into the Ranger zone, and Vadanen, number 5, is back to get it, and as he touches it, icing is called against Montreal, and the faceoff will go all the way back into the Montreal zone. Gary Dornhofer, since you were here in Game 1, this series has made a complete turnaround.
It certainly has, and one of the reasons is a great forechecking job that the Canadiens have been able to administer against the Rangers. And the key right now, as we look at it, Dan, is that first 10 minutes. Montreal certainly come out storming.
Esposito on a face-off, gets it in front to Hedberg. He drops it back. It comes to Vadanen at the point, shooting, and it's blocked by Гэйni. Гэйni came sliding out to block it. And Vardnais has to go back for the Rangers. Fires it to center. Savard takes over there to Robinson. Number 19, Larry Robinson, shooting it into the New York zone, and it is offside at the Ranger blue line.
You know, Freddie Shero made a change tonight. He put Hedberg alongside Esposito, and one of the reasons was that he wanted to get Lafleur away from Don Maloney, because Гэйni had been watching Hedberg the whole series, and that change may be in effect tonight.
The man who scored the big winning goal in New York the other night, Serge Savard. Here's Tkachuk against Risebrough. Now Lamberт cleared it to the Ranger line. Marois has it there to Mike McEwen. He cleared it to the Canadiens line. Here's Tremblay. Had it roll off a stick. McEwen dropping it back. Marois up the middle for Tkachuk. Tkachuk moving in and over on the left side. Vickers in ahead of the play and offside at the Montreal blue line.
Well, lineup changes tonight, which means that two regulars are missing, one from each team, Ulf Nilsson of the Rangers and Guy Lapointe of Montreal.
All ready for a face-off. Tkachuk against Risebrough. Comes to center ice. McEwen firing one around on the boards. It went off of Dryden's stick and up over the glass. Ranger coach Fred Shero.
17th man to coach the Rangers in their 53-year history. 15 of the 17 played for the team, which I think is quite a record. The only two who did not, John Ferguson and Jean-Guy Talbot. Fred Shero played with the Rangers and was with them in the 1950 finals when they were beaten by Detroit in 7 games. An overtime 7th game, Pete Babendo scoring.
The man who set up that winning goal the other night by Savard, Guy Lafleur. Ready on a face-off to the right of Dryden. We've played 58 seconds of the opening period. Sheehan on a face-off against Lemaire. Puck comes to Robinson, poked it into the corner for Chартроу. He tried to clear it out. Greshner knocked it back in. And they really hit it ahead with his hand to a teammate, and thus a stoppage in play and a face-off at the Montreal line.
Gary, a little bit of tension in the legs out there in the ice.
I'm sure of it. You know, the Rangers, they should be awfully loose out there. You know, they have nowhere to go but up. They're at their last stand here. But I know the Canadiens, they certainly want to finish it off tonight.
Here's Vardnais backhanding one into the Montreal zone. Dryden sets it up for Chартроу. He beats it out on the left wing side for number 22, Steve Shutt. A 3-man Montreal rush. Firing it in. Sheehan beats Lafleur to it. Centered out in front. Shutt shoots. Davidson skate save from close in. And the Rangers come back. Deblois for Sheehan. Trying to go around Robinson, who took him out of the play, and then Chартроу shot it to the line. Here's Chартроу again, falling, but getting it to Lafleur. Lead pass to Shutt. Intercepted by Vardnais. To Greshner. Greshner to Sheehan, number 6. Bobby Sheehan moving in to Deblois. He couldn't handle it. Centered. That almost deflected off Robinson. It did deflect, but went wide of the net. Here's Shutt for Montreal. Steve Shutt upended by Sheehan. Lafleur gets it to the side of the net to Lemaire, but tipped away. And Vardnais for the Rangers clears it the length of the ice. They rule Robinson could have played it, so there's no icing. Here is number 19, Larry Robinson. Lets a long shot go. Davidson steers it aside, similar to a shot that he let go in New York in overtime the other night. Only perhaps not quite as hard. Here's Lamberт, shoots. Davidson, glove save on Lambert on a rising grip shot.
From the Forum in Montreal, this is Stanley Cup 79.
Scoreless hockey game as Dave Maloney is tied up by Napier. Back of the net trying to get it to Mondeau. Now centered. Davidson calmly sets it up for Duguay. He fired to center. And Savard for Montreal gives it to Lamberт off his stick. Marois trying to shoot it in. Here's Lupia for Napier. Long backhander wide of the net, but Davidson sets it up for his defense. And they clear it to Murdoch. Now to Duguay. Duguay got by Lupia, but couldn't control the puck. There's Marois at the Ranger line, shooting it into the center ice area. Savard gets it back in, and Dave Maloney passes to Marois. Rangers up the middle for Duguay. Number 10, Duguay to Murdoch. Murdoch shooting it into the Canadian zone. Lamberт comes up with the puck, tried to feed it up. Murdock held it in. Over onto the other wing, and Savard takes over. He shot at the center. Plante back for Marois. Scoreless game as Marois fires along with it. Plante digs in. Napier tips it to Mondeau. And the Canadiens start back to Lamberт. Lambert trying to work around Mike McEwen. McEwen pinned him against the boards, but Jarvis gets the puck. Shooting Davidson, a pad save. Davidson out of the net to pass to Hedberg, who gets it into the center ice area. Now Savard to Гэйni. And the play is offside at the Ranger blue line, and Davidson comes up big here early for the Rangers.
Canadiens have had 4 shots. Every one of them has made Davidson hop. So he started out the game playing very well. Here's Lupien and Murdock. They were involved 2 or 3 times in that last sequence of plays. Lupien with a grab on Murdock's stick, and then after that, Lupien took a run at Marois and missed him in the center ice zone.
There you see that line change the Rangers have made. Esposito is centering Hedberg on the right side and Don Maloney on the left side. Canadiens get it in for Jarvis, firing it around in the boards. Now Don Maloney couldn't control it. Engblom at the point. Back of the net, but Greshner is there for the Rangers to the rookie Maloney, now to Esposito. Over on the right side for Hedberg. Hedberg dropping it for Greshner. He shoots it in. Rangers chase in after it. Dryden clearing it away. Now Langway tried to get it up. Puck bouncing up high in the air. Greshner knocked it down but couldn't hold it in. And here come the Canadiens, who playing it off the boards into the New York zone. Davidson sets it up for Greshner. Headmanning it on right wing to Hedberg at center for Maloney. Don Maloney lost it and Greshner takes over. Greshner to Hedberg. Clears one in. And Engblom is back for Montreal to Mario Tremblay on right wing for Risebrough. Now Dave Maloney back after it. Maloney flipping it on the boards. Lamberт knocked it down. Cleared it behind the net for Risebrough. He centers one. It comes to Chартроу. Chартроу drive! And that deflected off someone in front of the net. Johnstone for the Rangers. Shoots it to center. Esposito picked it up. He's checked by Chартроу. Now Lamberт to Tremblay. Maloney skates him off and hammered him against the boards. Over on the other wing, Lambert and Johnstone battle for it. Kachuk gets it and cleared it to center. Tremblay for Montreal. Checked by Kachuk. To Johnstone, number 17, one of the hard-working Rangers. He shoots it in. Kachuk in after it. Back to the point for Maloney. Over on the other wing for Johnstone. Robinson takes him out of the play. Lafleur overskates the puck. And now Robinson trying to clear it out. Maloney held it in. Here's Maloney trying to center, and it is Lemaire clearing it to center ice. Dave Maloney drops it to Vadanen. Vadanen shot it into the center ice area. Here's Lemaire with Lafleur. Back to Lemaire. Banned on it as he was open in front of the net. Vadanen takes over for the Rangers. Checked by Lafleur. The shot shoots Davidson. Went to his knees, made the save, and it deflected off his stick over the glass. Well, John Davidson has had to handle 5 shots, most of them tough. The Rangers have not had a shot on goal as yet, but it's a scoreless hockey game. McEwen, long pass at center for Deblois. Lupien takes over for Montreal, almost lost it to Sheehan, but it goes down into the Ranger zone. And McEwen is back after it. Got it to the line, Shutt held it in to Mondeau. Shooting one, Marois with a big block. And back comes Mario Marois to Sheehan. And Deblois was in ahead of the play offside on right wing.
Well, a good defensive play by Mario Marois. There is Lucien Deblois. He didn't play in the early part of this series. Fred Shero suited him up in Game 4 on Saturday, and he's in uniform again tonight. Gary, the Canadiens, they've had the pressure.
Oh, it's that great speed. You know, they have the great skating ability that they have. They get right on top of the Rangers, and you know how difficult it is. As soon as you touch the puck, there's a red and white shirt on you, and it's tough to make those plays. And somehow I think that the Ranger forwards are just going to have to get it in front of the Canadian forwards, just not allow them to get in that zone so fast.
Here's Napier, got the center, checked there. Langway now for Montreal, firing it off. Mondeau skate, it's into the Ranger zone. Greshner on right wing for Murdock, to center ice to number 10, Duguay. Duguay Works around Napier, trying to center it. Over on the other wing, and the shot off of Dryden and up over the glass as Pierre Plante let it go on his off wing.
That's the first shot that Ken Dryden's had, the first shot on goal at the 7-11 mark here in the first period on the play by the Rangers, Gary.
Well, Duguay sends a great shot over it. Unfortunately, Plante, waited a little bit too long. If he could have released that as soon as it hit his stick, he might have had a better chance to score, but looked like he was out of not a very good angle at Dryden in that particular case. That would eliminate a lot of problems for the Rangers by spending a little more time in the Canadian zone. I don't know if that's possible, though.
And if the Rangers need some inspiration, Mr. Davidson may have provided it here in the early going with some great goaltending. But they may have become accustomed to that, because that's been the story since the Stanley Cup playoffs started for the man they call JD, John Davidson. Here's Pierre Plante, who had that Ranger shot. He centered one, intercepted, and back comes Langway, number 17. Flips one in. Tremblay digs in after it. Greshner skated him off. Now Langway in the other corner. Fired it around for Hull. Plante hammered him in against the boards, and Tremblay retreats to center, but dumps it right back in. Bad night for New York. To Plante. Now to Duguay, number 10. Ron Duguay. Passing to Plante, it goes off a stick and deflects up over the glass.
"12 minutes and 16 seconds left in the first period. And this is Stanley Cup 79 from the Forum in Montreal. Freddie Shearer's done a great job in New York. This series marks the first time all season that his team has lost 3 in a row. It's quite a record.
Гэйni for Montreal to Savard to Lafleur. Now back to Гэйni, got it to the Canadiens line. Marois feeds into the center ice area, and it's tipped back where Savard takes over for Montreal. Savard playing it off the glass. It went off the referee Newell. Savard gets it again. Esposito tying him up, and Savard drops it to Robinson. Number 19, Robinson to Lafleur. Shoots one. That deflects wide. Over on the other wing, Hedberg tried to catch up with it, but it came all the way to center. And Savard has it for Montreal. Trying to clear it out. Now Lafleur to Гэйni. Dropping it to Robinson. Weaves his way into the Ranger zone, does Larry Robinson. Trying to work around Marois. Centered it. Here's Lafleur. Shoots one, and Davidson seemed to clear it with his stick as Lafleur was in pretty close. Гэйni in the corner. Knocked down by Marois. Now Lemaire for Гэйni. Гэйni again bumped by Marois, and Hedberg drops it back for the Rangers to Dave Maloney. Trying to shoot it out of there. They get it to Esposito. Number 77, Esposito to Hedberg. Robinson gets a piece of him, and Savard gets the puck. Shot it around, but Esposito for the Rangers takes over. Centering one, Greshner, backhander, Hedberg at the edge of the crease, poked it wide. And then Lemaire passes to Lafleur, who got it to center. Greshner for New York, scoreless hockey game. Rangers. Well, Greshner got it into the zone, but Savard flips it back out. McEwen shot it back in. Now Savard to Robinson. Into the center ice area. Hull being closely checked by Greshner. Greshner in for Tkachuk. He's bumped by Robinson. And Jarvis flips it to center. Mike McEwen for the Rangers. Off the boards to Johnstone to the Canadiens line. Savard cleared it. Vickers overskates it. Then Hull tumbled into the boards. Gets up again and cleared it into the New York zone. Lambert in to take it away from Greshner. Lambert centers off McEwen just wide. Hull to the point to Chartreux. Wrist shot deflecting wide. McEwen for New York. Over on right wing to Johnstone. He got it to center. Tkachuk racing after it, but Chartreux beat him to it. Canadiens, Jarvis gets it to the Ranger line. Here's Greshner. Rink wide to McEwen. Ahead to Vickers. Vickers has to circle back as Tkachuk had gone in ahead of the play. Now McEwen long shot. Dryden with a stick save. Engblom trying to clear it, and does as Vadnais couldn't hold it in, and here's Hull being chased by McEwen. Hull over into the other wing. Chartreux shoots a score! Chartreux shot. Lambert could have tipped it, and the Canadiens lead 1-0.
Gary, you've got to give full marks here to Reggie Hull, who seemed to be trapped. He was literally surrounded by Rangers. but he hung on to the puck and set up the goal with the Chартrou or Lamberт, not sure which.
You're right there, Dick. Just watch how he hangs onto that puck just over the blue line. He isn't going anywhere. He hangs onto it, finds the open man, which turns out to be Chартроу. Chартrou directs the puck at the net. Just a wrist shot. Lambert's heading for the net, deflects it by Davidson.
Seemed that Vadanen made a move at the puck, and it might have got in off his stick.
But you know, that's what you always try to do, is head for the net. And you're right, it did hit the Ranger defenseman, not Lamberт.
So the Canadiens lead 1-0 as Vadanen back to get it in his own zone. They fire it up the center to Deblois. He's checked. Deblois then almost lost it to Lafleur. Here's Sheehan clearing it in, but Lupien is there to shoot it back out. Vadanen fires one back in. Savard takes over for Montreal. On right wing, the number 10, Lafleur. Leaving it there for Lemaire. He shoots it in. Takes a crazy hop off the boards. Davidson almost got caught out of position. Now Lafleur, checked by Deblois. Lemaire tied him up, and Vadanen has it for New York. Flips it into the center ice area. Hickey racing in after it. Riding out of the net for Lafleur. Now for Lemaire. Comes to center ice. Deblois carrying back in. Lupien tied him up. Here's Savard. For Montreal to Lemaire. Now to Lafleur. Trying to work around McEwen. McEwen got a piece of him, and Vadanen gets the puck. Canadiens leading 1-0 on a goal by Lamberт. Here's Murdoch shooting it in. Dryden. Back of the net. Handed it to the Ranger player Plot. He centered. Lupien under pressure trying to get it out. Greshner held it in. Lupien again. Shot it on the boards. Murdoch behind the net to Duguay. He missed it. Here's Plot. And Savard takes over for Montreal. Serge Savard with a long shot. That's wide. Davidson cleared it. Here's Tremblay centering one, but Don Murdoch intercepts. Got to center. Langley. For Montreal comes right back shooting, and a pad save with his left pad by John Davidson. McEwen. Dick Greshner. Across the center, just fires it in. Engblom back for the Canadiens. To Murdoch. Lamberт, here's the centering pass to Duguay, and it's cleared away by Engblom and Dryden. Langley back of the net. Don Maloney is there. Now they center it out in front, a backhander by Murdoch, another one, Dryden diving across to stop Murdoch. Canadiens cleared it out, the Rangers got it back in, and it's offside at the Montreal line.
With the score, the Canadiens 1, the Rangers nothing. This is Stanley Cup 79. We'll pick it up here, but the replay that we looked at previous to this, watch Lamberт. He never touches the puck as it goes by him. It went off Kэрol Vadnais' stick. Lamberт gets credit for the goal, but they may make a change.
So if they change it, it will be Chартроу, because he was the one that let the shot go. Now here's Yarvis for Montreal. A wrist shot that deflected off Dave Maloney wide of the net. Over on the other wing, the younger Maloney, Don, number 12. Bumped by Houle, but Esposito is there to cover up. He got it to center. Гэйni takes over, flipping it back in. Now it is Dave Maloney at center ice. Got it there, but cleared back in by Chартроу. And Marois for the Rangers passes to Hedberg. To Esposito. Trying to work around Robinson. Backhander, riding out of the net, even though it was wide to play the puck, and he was poke checked. Here's Hedberg. Shoots Dryden. Pad save as he kicked out his right leg. And Napier takes over for Montreal. Around on the boards, Robinson and Hedberg collide. And Hedberg gets the worst of that. And the face-off will be in the Montreal zone.
You know, one thing, Dan, that's the beauty of those replays. What we thought at the beginning turned out to be a goal knocked in by the Rangers themselves. And here you're going to see Dryden come up with a real good save. The last couple of shifts, the Rangers have applied a little bit of pressure, and Dryden has come up big to keep the Rangers off the score sheet.
We're down to 6:05 left in the first period. Canadiens have outshot the Rangers 8-5. The scoring play, Lamberт from Chартроу and Houle at 10:36, but as we have pointed out, It looked as though it hit Vardnais, and we might have a change on that before too long. Lupien back for the Canadiens, number 24. Out on the wing for Napier. It comes to center. Vardnais for the Rangers, firing it back in. Now Lupien, the big 6'6" defenseman, passes at center ice for Mondeau. One man back. Mondeau shoots, and he rifled it high up over the glass. And the face-off will be in the Ranger zone.
The teams are 5 minutes and 41 seconds away from the first intermission, and during the intermission I'll be chatting with Anders Hedberg of the New York Rangers, and we'll show you a film feature on the Special Olympics, a very worthwhile sports-oriented project. And Gary and Dan will look at the highlights of this first period. All of that coming up in our first intermission.
Okay, Dick Irvin, play underway as Johnstone shoots it into the Montreal zone. Savard is there for Canadiens. To Lafleur, trying to work it out. Now Napier, tied up by Johnstone. Napier trying to break loose. Vardnais poking it, and Gressner has it for the Rangers. Fans holler, they thought the Rangers should have been penalized. Here's Gressner firing one down. Dryden shooting it over onto the other wing. Kachuk gets it to the corner. Lupien for Montreal. Now it's Lafleur being tied up on the boards by Vickers. Lafleur over on the other side for Big Lupien. Gilles Lupien for Montreal, up the middle with a pass to Mondeau, who flips it in. Canadiens head for the bench on a line change, and Vardnais has it for the Rangers to Johnstone. He handed it right to Risebrough. Risebrough then lost it, and Vickers for New York to Johnstone at center. Shot it into the Montreal zone. Engblom, number 3, starting back to Tremblay. Tremblay trying to work around Gressner. Tremblay centered it. Vardnais tipped it, and Sheehan feeds it out on the right side. And here's Lucien Deblois. Dryden sets it up for Engblom. He cleared it and cleared it over the glass. 4 minutes, 20 seconds left in the first period. Montreal 1, the Rangers nothing. Rangers, of course, facing elimination. Sheehan against Jarvis on a face-off. Sheehan falls, so does Jarvis, and then Гэйni comes up with the puck. Tried to flip it. Deblois knocking it down. And then it's shot back in by Marois. Here's Robinson for the Canadiens. Larry Robinson. Long shot wide. Here's Гэйni speeding in. Гэйni centered one, and the pass was behind Jarvis and comes all the way to center. Chartrand to Houle. Houle backhanding one in. Mike McEwen to Deblois as the Rangers methodically work it out of their own zone. Shot wide by several feet. McEwen centers one. No Ranger is there, and Jarvis has it. To Chartrand. He almost lost it to Duguay, but it comes to center. Poked back in by Marois, and Robinson beats Duguay to it to Chartrand. Now Plante and Chartrand fight for it. Lafleur is there, and he cleared it over the glass.
You know, that's been one key in the Montreal series here with the Rangers is when the Canadian defensemen make that pass up the middle, suddenly they're in the play. What could be a 3-on-3 suddenly becomes a 4-on-3. You know, they have such great speed. Savard, Robinson, they always get involved in the offense, and it ended up scoring a goal the other night, Savard, by penetrating.
Duguay on a face-off against Lemaire. It comes to Vardnais. His shot goes wide. Langway and Murdoch battle for it. Now Duguay and Lemaire go to the corner. Langway back to help out. Third it. Vardnais held it in. He scores! Vardnais drifted one from the right point. There was a floater, but Dryden was screened, and it may have also been deflected. I'm not sure.
Well, that's one Kэрol Vardnais puts in the other net. That's what you'd much rather do. Scotty Bowman can't believe it. A floater is right, Dan Kelly. Gary, you'll take him any way you can. This is a strange one.
There's no question. Well, there's a lot of traffic in front of Dryden there, but it was good hard work along the boards. The Rangers just out-muscled them, and it looked like Dryden did see it till the very last second and just popped through his legs.
Might have gone off Lemaire's stick. Now watch Lemaire moving in against the Rangers player. I don't know.
Well, it certainly dipped. Back to the live action. Vardnais gets the goal. Here's Lafleur shooting. Davidson a glove save, but he couldn't hold on to it. Lafleur again trying to get it. And then Murdoch shoots it to center for New York. Here's Lemaire. Checked by Plante. Engblom is there. For Lafleur. He gets it into the Rangers zone. Bad night for Murdoch. Murdoch got it to the line. Langway shooting! And it deflects and goes up over the glass. Live from the Forum in Montreal, the Stanley Cup playoffs. A power play of Lafleur at center, Lambert on left wing, Robinson moving up onto right wing, and Savard and Lemaire the point men. Tkachuk will take this face off against Lafleur. 1-1 the score, a minute 43 left in Maloney's penalty. Davidson tipped it away. Now Lafleur shoots one. Pad save, Davidson. Lambert poked at it. Davidson stopped that. Puck still loose, and Tkachuk backhanding it down the ice for the Rangers. Serge Savard with a minute 23 left in Maloney's penalty. Savard, the Canadian veteran, tried to flip it ahead to Lafleur, broken up, and Breshner clears it down the ice. Now Lemaire for Montreal. Jacques Lemaire, number 25. Lets the slap shot go. Scores! Lemaire from the blue line. Folds Davidson, and the Canadiens go ahead 2-1 on a power play goal by Lemaire.
Well, Gary, you have to feel sorry for the goaltender there, and you have to wonder if maybe he wasn't quite ready for it.
Well, especially with Lemaire, you know, one thing about him, you always have to be aware when he's out there, because you know he's going to shoot it every chance he gets. And here he's outside the blue line and lets one go. And it'll be interesting to see what effect this has on the rest of the Ranger player, because I know anytime a goaltender lets a bad goal in, your head seems to sag and your time.
Why would he have his stick off the ice? You know, the puck was right along there. Of course, it's easy to second guess. I think he was ready. He seemed to be settling in the goal crease. Lemaire has scored a lot of goals in his career like this, but not this season that I can recall until right now. 2-1 Montreal.
For Lemaire, his 10th of the year, and he's tied with Lafleur for the lead in the playoffs with 10 goals apiece. And the Canadiens lead 2-1. Here's Rejao. He cuts back to the net. Oh, Jarvis missed it. Houle, a backhander that deflects wide. Jarvis for Гэйni. Гэйni taken out of the play by Don Maloney. Now it's centered again, and Houle couldn't get to it, and Hedberg comes back for the Rangers. Hedberg to Don Maloney. Engblom and Maloney go to the corner. Houle comes back to help out, cleared it, but Marois knocked it down. His shot was just into the corner, nowhere near the net, and Jarvis, number 21 for Montreal, passes over on the wing. Langway missed it as the Canadiens were in the process of making a line change. Here's Marois for Hickey. Hickey, number 16. Got it right onto Lambert's stick. Flips the long one in. Risebrow digging in with a poke wide of the goal. Lambert to the corner, centered. Hickey breaks it up, and back comes Pat Hickey, number 16. Trying to set up Deblois. Now Sheehan speeds in. Risebrow checked him. Centered to Deblois, and his centering pass comes to the point for Maloney, but he's checked in the play by Tremblay for Lambert. Lead pass to Risebrow, trying to work around Marois, who takes it away from him. And Mario Marois tries to carry out. Tremblay checked him, but it rolled away from Tremblay to Hickey. He got it to center. Mondeau is there to intercept and dump it back in. Canadiens leading 2-1. Dave Maloney for the Rangers. For Marois. Now they get it into the Canadian zone. Dryden sets it up for Chartreux. Cleared it out on the boards. Mondeau had it, and then Chartreux got it to center. Napier checked by Dave Maloney. Now it's Mondeau picking it up. Shoots one, and that's deflected off Marois, and he's been injured as he blocked the shot. Mario Marois, and he's flat on the ice after blocking the shot.
Well, a tough break for Mario Marois, Gary, but boy, oh boy, that has got to hurt.
Well, they smart, and I don't know where he got that one. If that was on the kneecap there or in the ankle, it looked like it hit him on the ankle.
Mario Marois left the ice. He was on his feet, favoring his right foot. Here's a look at it again. It seemed to be the ankle. There you see his right foot up, and he dropped, and in the dressing room area, he is just being assisted there now.
Here's Lupia, shoots from the faceoff, and Davidson gets his right pad on it. Now Plante into the center ice area for Duguay. Lafleur checked him. Shot at the center. Vadnais has it, being checked by Lemaire. Lupia stepped into him, and Lafleur takes over for Montreal. For Duguay. Duguay knocked it down. Dugay's shot was blocked. Now Lemaire for Lafleur at center, but intercepted by Vadnais. Vadnais being forechecked by Lafleur. Around on the boards, and the Rangers, Pierre Plante passes to Duguay. He skated off. Plante had it, was checked, and Dave Maloney has to circle back. At center for Duguay to Plante. Passed it over onto an open wing, shut, interception, shoots it in for Montreal. Dave Maloney comes back for the Rangers. For Plante. Long shot, well wide of the net. Lupien for Lambert. To Mondeau. Mondeau, number 6, trying to work around McEwen, and the shot is blocked by McEwen. And he pokes it out to center ice. Robinson to Savard. Canadiens leading 2-1. Larry Robinson for Pierre Mondeau, number 6. Reshner has the angle on him, sent it to Robinson, and the shot goes wide. Reshner trying to clear it. Chартроу shooting! Mondeau tipped it and it went high off the glass. And Esposito, with the Rangers under pressure, fires the puck the length of the ice, and New York is called for icing.
Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
15:21 left in the second period. The go-ahead goal here in period 2 by Jacques Lemaire. Kind of reminiscent of one he scored in Chicago in the playoffs against Tony Esposito a few years back. Here's Гэйni. Lead pass to the Ranger line. McEwen is there to intercept. Loose at center. Jarvis trying to poke it into the Ranger zone. Here's Reshner to Esposito to Don Maloney. Flips one in. Robinson for Montreal to Гэйni. He tipped it to center, and here's Rejao to Jarvis. A 2-on-2 break. Now Гэйni catches up, but Jarvis' shot handled easily by Davidson. Here's Гэйni for Chартроу. He lost it, and Esposito feeds to Hedberg. Robinson gets back in a hurry for Montreal. Now Don Maloney trying to center. Maloney still with the puck. Now centered. Dryden gets his arm on it. Esposito to Maloney behind the net. To Esposito, shoots, and he hit the side of the net or Dryden's pad. I'm not sure which. Don Maloney to Hedberg. And Hull passes to Гэйni. One man back. Гэйni trying to go around Vadnais. Backhander, and Davidson just got his stick on it. Now Lafleur's shot. Stopped by Vadnais, who passes to Vickers. Vickers, number 8. Checked by Lemaire. And Chартроу takes over, almost copped it up to Esposito, regains control and passes to Schutt. Here's Steve Schutt, centering one, and Vadnais breaks it up in front of the net. He headmans it to Kachuk, to Vickers. Shooting, and Dryden gets his arm on it and deflects it up over the glass.
8 years ago, Dan, Jacques Lemaire scored that goal on Tony Esposito, the 71 finals, 7th game in Chicago. Well, the Prime Minister, Pierre-Elliott Trudeau, relaxing after his recent long, hard grind here at the hockey game tonight in Montreal.
13:49 left in the second period. Lemaire's goal at 1:02, a power play goal, while Maloney was in the penalty box on the only penalty of the game. Here are the Rangers. Maloney shot wide. Comes to center. Now Vadnais backtracks into his own zone. Flips it to Johnstone. Langway checked him. Lemaire got it over on the board. But Vadnais passes to Vickers. Vickers to Johnstone. Johnstone on right wing, and his weak shot went wide of the Montreal goal. Lafleur tried to get it out. Dave Maloney lost it, and Lafleur breaks out a 3-on-1 Montreal rush. Lafleur going in, and the play goes offside on a 2-line offside, apparently, or no penalty. But Dave Newell calls for cross-checking. And it's against Langway of the Montreal Canadiens, thus the stoppage in play.
First power play chance for New York.
Rangers have had 2 power play goals in this series against Montreal. Canadiens have had 3 against the Rangers, including the one here tonight. Robinson, poke check by Esposito. Langway is off, and the Rangers trailing 2-1 have an opportunity here. Reshner Drops it to McEwen, back to Gressner on right wing to Esposito. Over to McEwen. He gets it into the Canadian zone. Robinson is there, lost it to Gressner. Gressner along the boards to Don Maloney. Robinson tying him up. Don Maloney using the skates to kick the puck loose, but it goes to Jarvis, and Jarvis cleared it away for Montreal, and the Canadiens send out some fresh penalty killers as Hull and Lemaire hop over the boards. Here's Gressner on the Ranger power play to Don Maloney, and off this stick over the glass, and the faceoff will be outside the Montreal blue line.
Only twice in the 1970s has a team been in a 3-1 position going back on home ice with a chance to win the Stanley Cup, and both times they haven't been able to do it. Phil Esposito was involved one year, 1972. He played with the Bruins, and they were leading the Rangers 3-1. They went back to Boston. New York won the game, and they went back into New York where the Bruins clinched it. The next year, the same thing happened to Montreal against Chicago. Canadians leading 3-1. The fifth game was that incredible 8-7 game.
Here's McEwen back into his own zone for the Rangers. 58 seconds left in the Montreal penalty. McEwen, number 27. Fires one in. Don Maloney digs in against Savard. Savard comes up with the puck. Now Esposito comes in to help out. But Savard takes on the two of them and winds up sprawling across the ice on top of the puck.
You know, when the Rangers do get the puck in the Montreal zone, what's happening out there is a Canadian player be in the corner fighting for the puck, and only one Ranger. What you try to do is outnumber the opposition when they're a man short. Have two men in there digging out for the puck. Then you're sure of coming up with it, and the Rangers have failed to do so. You know, only 2 power plays. That's not very many power play chances, or goals rather, in this series, because they have a lot of talent out there. You know, and that Gressner's back on the point, Esposito, Duguay, they should be getting more goals.
43 seconds left in Langway's penalty. Jarvis against Duguay. Face off in the Montreal zone. Cleared by Robinson. Here's Savard. Trying to tip it away. Now Robinson. Over on left wing to Гэйni. Гэйni cleared it away. Vadanen goes back to beat Jarvis to it. And Kэрol Vadanen, number 5, tries to work it out of his own end to Murdok. Robinson hits him with a stiff body check. And then Jarvis cleared it down the ice. Murdoch went one way, a stick went the other on that check by Robinson. Here's Hickey to Duguay. Duguay checked by Savard, and Гэйni takes over to Risebrough. Risebrough's quick shot, high off the glass. Now in forechecking is Risebrough. Penalized player back on Langway as the puck is centered, and Vadanen gives it to Duguay. Duguay moving in, shooting, and Dryden kicks that one out on the short side. Tremblay for Montreal to Risebrough. He has Lamberт with him, a 2-on-1 break. Risebrough to Lamberт. Davidson slides across to make another key save. And Hickey for the Rangers gets it to Duguay. Drops to Vadanen. Now Deblois over to Duguay. Duguay trying to work around Risebrough. Tremblay intercepting and clearing to center. Marois checked by Lamberт. Again a 2-on-1 break. Centered, and Tremblay deflects it wide as Lamberт tried to set him up. And the Rangers, Sheehan comes back. He's poke checked. Here's Tremblay for Lemaire. Lemaire moving in, trying to go around Gressner. Shoots, and he shot it high as he tried for the short side.
With the score, the Canadiens 2, the Rangers 1. This is Stanley Cup 79.
Look at the Canadiens bench. We're down to 10:18 left in the second period. Montreal leading 2-1 as Langway shoots one in. Gressner for the Rangers back to get it. Here's Deblois up the middle to Sheehan, and now the Rangers have a 2-on-1 break to Plante. Plante moving in, and Engblom split across. Now centered, and Deblois checked by Schutt. Gressner for the Rangers. Checks back to the net. Langway is there for Schutt. Schutt trying to get around Deblois. He couldn't, but Lemaire fired at the center. Gressner shoots it back in, and number 10, Dean Lafleur, takes over. To Schutt. That's center to Lemaire. Now to Langway. Over to Lemaire. Lemaire trying to center. Deblois tying him up, and McEwen got the puck to center ice. Lemaire fired it back in, almost hit Dave Newell. Greshner for the Rangers. Rangers are trailing 2-1 for Plante. And Savard intercepts for Montreal to Lupia. Lupia leads a four-man rush. Long shot, well wide of the net. Vadanen back for the Rangers. To Hedberg. Trying to set up Esposito. Houle breaks it up, and he's hit by Maloney, but here's Jarvis. Centered in front, and he scores! Bob Gainey! And the Canadiens have a 3-1 lead.
Well, it ejected John Davidson, but how many chances can they get, Gary? That time the defensive players cash in. Boy, they had so many chances just like this with the Rangers being caught up ice.
Well, a couple of 2-on-1s just prior to this, and here they go again. And Gainey, he just outmuscles Hedberg for the puck. He's just stronger than he was with that particular case and puts it by Dryden. Davidson rather. But the thing is that makes that play is keeps heading for the net, always going for the net. There you see it again, just deflects it by him. Great play.
Well, if you keep giving the Canadiens those 2-on-1 breaks, one is going to wind up going in your net, and you just saw Gainey do it, and it's 3-1 Montreal. Here is Gainey, passing to Jarvis. His long shot, Davidson handling that, sets it up for Dave Maloney. Back of the net to Vadanen. Vadanen for New York being forechecked by Mondeau. Vadanen over on the left wing side, and Dave Maloney carries to center for Hedberg. Hedberg's quick shot, and riding a glove save. Here's Esposito to Don Maloney. Back to Esposito, but Chartrow had him tied up, and the puck is held along the boards for a faceoff. Here's Tkachuk on the faceoff, got the draw, but Chartrow gets the puck for Montreal to Lambert. He got it to center. Mike McEwen taking over for Greshner. He's checked, and Rysbrough has it. Rysbrough lost it, and Vickers comes back for New York. Chartrow breaks that up at center ice, flipping it back in, off Greshner and over the glass. Canadiens have scored twice in this period to take a 3-1 lead. Here's Greshner for New York, trying to fire it down the ice. He does, and Robinson back to touch it, and icing called against the New York Rangers, and the faceoff back in the Rangers zone.
Mario Marois was hurt. He was taken off with a bruised ankle. He did come back, but Gary, you might have noticed him there a couple of plays. He had a lot of trouble manipulating and keeping his balance, and I think he has gone back into the Ranger dressing room. I don't think he's on. Now there's Claude Ruel, the Canadiens' assistant coach, along with team captain Yvan Cournoyer.
I watched him this morning during the Canadian workout, and he has a lot of enthusiasm for that workout, hollering and screaming for a good hour.
I was going to say, I bet you heard him.
Here's McEwen for the Rangers, trying to clear it. Johnstone, number 17 for New York. Rangers trailing in the series and trailing in this game 3-1 as they dump it in. Chartrow back to get it. McEwen knocked it down. Mike McEwen shot from the point, and Robinson breaks it up to Lambert, to Tremblay, to Rysbrough. Rysbrough trying to work around Greshner. Greshner tied him up. Johnstone cleared the puck, and it banged off the stick and went up over the glass.
Well, when you're hot, you're hot. They really threw the puckers out there, Gary. They just, right now, the Canadiens just can't miss. They're flying.
Well, of course, having that 3-1 lead makes it a lot easier too. You know, when they're playing with confidence, they know they need one more victory, and they can certainly smell it. There's no doubt about that, and they feel very confident. And they were playing the same way.
Well, 12:52 played in this period. The Rangers have had just 2 shots on goal.
There's Lupia holding it in. The Rangers get it. Maloney passing to Hickey. Hickey firing one into the Canadian zone. Lupia getting away from Deblois to Shutt. To Lemaire. Jacques Lemaire shoots one, and he missed on the short side by 3 or 4 feet. Lafleur got it in front. Lemaire pokes it to the corner, dropping it back, but the Rangers intercept, and number 6, Sheehan, comes to center. Trying to set up Deblois. Lafleur back checking. Fired it around on the glass, and it goes up over the glass into the crowd.
live from the Forum in Montreal, the Stanley Cup playoffs. 6:29 left in the second period. We've just received word that Ranger defenseman Mario Marois has an ankle that's very sore. He will not be back at action tonight.
Canadians have outshot the Rangers 9-2 in this period, and they've got goals from Lemaire and Гэйni to take a 3-1 lead. Here's Lafleur, losing it to Greshner. Greshner to Plante. Now to Duguay. Duguay across the line, and Murdock over on right wing in ahead of the play and offside of the Montreal Bulldogs.
Goal by Lemaire gives him 22 points now. Lafleur leading the playoff parade with 23. Esposito and Don Maloney with 20. NHL President John Ziegler.
Here's Greshner. Shoots one in for the Rangers. Engblom is there. Plante digs to the corner, trying to center. Lemaire takes over for Montreal. To Lafleur. He stick handles around, then just dumps it in. Greshner has to go back for the Rangers. Canadians have dominated this period. Plante got it to center. Langway intercepted. Langway in with Houle. Langway to Houle, right in. Davidson sprawled across and just got his arm on it. And the Canadians came very close again. Now Murdock to Duguay. Duguay tied up on the play. Over comes Jarvis. Engblom is there, so is Duguay, and it's held for a faceoff.
You know, one thing I've noticed tonight that on very few occasions have the Rangers ever been able to go 3 men abreast. You know, it's always 2 and 1 man hanging way back, whereby the Canadians, when they seem to break out, there's always 3, sometimes 4 men ready to go, and they're just not able to penetrate the Montreal zone.
That new line the Rangers have intact for this one. Esposito. Here's Badney shooting. Esposito with Hedberg and with Maloney, the forward line. Coming to center ice, it's cleared in by the Canadians. Going back is Badney, shooting it around to Don Maloney. Maloney passing to center, Savard to Robinson. Back to Savard. Canadians lead 3-1 as they work it into Jarvis on left wing. Badney back for New York. Here's Badney. Over to Dave Maloney. Maloney works away from a couple of Canadians, fires it into the Montreal zone. Savard going back, Dryden cleared it to Tremblay. Headmanning it to Mondeau. And McEwen breaks it up at center. Tremblay steals it for the Canadians. Mario Tremblay shooting, and Davidson makes a body save on a hard rising shot. Now Tremblay gets it to Mondeau. Mondeau being watched by Esposito. Here's Mondeau, turn shoots, Lambert a shot, and Davidson stopped them both. And then Badney cleared it to center. Here's Savard for Montreal, to Mondeau. McEwen back for the Rangers, gives it to Greshner. Out on right wing to Hedberg, he's checked. And Mondeau dropped it back to Robinson. He shot it to the Ranger line, and Mike McEwen, with 4 minutes left in the period, gives it to Greshner. He shot it to center. Shutt for Montreal. Moving in. Here's Steve Shutt. Johnstone tying him up from behind, and McEwen gets the puck loose. To Vickers. Vickers in against Savard, dropping it back, and back-checking was Lemaire to clear it away. Greshner has to hustle back for the Rangers. Greshner almost checked by Shutt. Gets free and passes to Johnstone. Now to Vickers. Drops one back. Dave Maloney beats Lafleur to it. Passed it on the left side. Here's Vickers. Lead passed it to Duke, and he's bumped by Chartrand, but got it into the Montreal zone. Engblom is there. For Shutt. To Lafleur. Shooting is Guy Lafleur, and it's wide by 3 or 4 feet. Johnstone tied up. Lemaire is there. Badney digs it loose and flips it to center ice. Chartrand for the Canadians, flipping it in. Houle comes in after it. Here's Гэйni after the puck. Гэйni being checked, and Badney has it for New York. Now it's Dave Maloney trying to work around the defense. Chartrand tied him up, and Engblom, number 3, starts back for the Canadians. 2.5 minutes left in the second period. Engblom shot right on. Davidson makes a body save, and the Rangers clear it to center ice. Here's Гэйni clearing it in. Dave Maloney is there. He drops it back, and Vatanen goes back for New York and then takes a hit from Tremblay. Hickey passing it out. Chартроу held it in. His shot stopped at the defense, and Vatanen for the Rangers clears it down the ice. And as Engblom goes back, icing called against the Rangers, and despite having a 3-1 lead, Gary Dornhofer, the Canadiens have not been laying back at all. They just keep coming on.
They certainly have, and I think they're giving a real great demonstration on all the aspects of winning hockey. And here's a hit by Tremblay. He seems to always give the Canadiens a spark, working in the corners in front of the net. But the way they're throwing the puck around, skating, back-checking, forechecking, everything that it takes to win, the Canadiens are doing it right.
And as a result, Montreal has outshot New York 12-2 here in the second period. On the game, 21-10 in favor of Montreal. See Гэйni with a bump on his forehead.
And there must be something to the skating.
You know, interesting too, here we'll get to that later. Here's Robinson's shot. That stopped, and Duguay takes over for the Rangers. Duguay to Hickey. Savard tying him up. Serge Savard back of the net. Rangers get it in front. McEwen shoots. Oh, and Hickey just missed at the side of the net. Rangers' best chance of the period, perhaps. Here's McEwen. His shot, and Dryden went to his knees, and Savard trying to clear it. Held in by Sheehan. To Deblois to Sheehan. Sheehan is checked by Savard, and Napier is able to clear it down the ice for the Canadiens. Davidson sets it up for Gressner. To Murdoch. Broken up. Now it's Houle for Montreal to Lemaire, who has a breakaway. Lemaire shoots. He scores! Lemaire!
Well, there's a disappointed John Davidson. Lemaire put the shift on him and had the whole open net, but again, it's that Canadian speed and how they take advantage of those opportunities and headman that puck. Always looking for that open man. There's a great pass. Lemaire is scot-free. Now watch the move he puts on Davidson. Good night.
25. Jacques Lemaire.
Houle is the man who sends him into the clear.
Again, you know, Houle, he sees Lemaire going and puts it right on his stick, and Lemaire doesn't make any mistake.
And it's 4-1 Montreal. A minute now left in the second period. Rangers had just missed a great chance prior to that when Hickey fanned on at the edge of the crease. Here come the Canadiens again. Lafleur centering one. Vatanen is there to tip it away, and back comes Ron Duguay, number 10. Gets it into the Canadian zone. Shutt is there. He knocked it down. Robinson takes over for Montreal. For Lafleur. 4-1, Canadiens lead. 30 seconds left in the second period. Lafleur checked, and McEwen clears it to center for the New York Rangers. Robinson has it there. To Lemaire. Lemaire to Houle. Houle being checked by Murdoch. Now Vatanen takes over in the corner for the Rangers. Kэрol Bednar. With just 7 seconds left in the period to McEwen. Back to Vatanen. Back to Mike McEwen. Houle steals to Гэйni, and Vatanen had to go down and block the shot and perhaps save another Montreal goal on a key block by Vatanen. And the Canadiens just came on in the second period like gangbusters and build up a 4-1 lead. They, on the game, have outshot the visiting New York Rangers 23-11 in that period. 14 shots for Montreal and just 3 for the New York Rangers. And so the score at the end of the second period, the Montreal Canadiens 4, the New York Rangers 1. Greg Shiro, the Ranger coach. Rangers are trailing 4-1, 13:25 left in the third period. Lemaire on the face-off against Kachuk. Kachuk kicks the puck loose and goes back to have a look, then leave it there for his defenseman. And Dave Maloney passes to Vickers, now to Kachuk. Lafleur intercepted. Number 10, Guy Lafleur for Engvall. Off his stick and up over the boards at the Montreal players bench.
Now the people out in Edmonton are going to get quite a kick on the 28th and 29th of July. The Rangers are going to be there, but they'll be playing softball against the Sports Page All-Stars, players from the Oilers, the Eskimos, other NHL teams. It's the 4th annual Sports Page Celebrity Softball Classic, and proceeds will go to a local Edmonton Center for Retarded Children. I'm sure a great time is going to be had by all.
That was Ron Greshner's skate we saw the Ranger training staff working on. Here's Vadnais. Back behind the net, Dave Maloney working it out for Johnstone. Now to Vickers, trying to go around Chартроу. Standard one, Robinson is there to clear it away. Over on the other wing to Schutt. Schutt got it to the line, Vadnais holding it in. And Lemaire has it for Montreal. Cleared the zone to center ice, Vadnais has a look, waits for his team to get onside, dumped it back in. Chартроу quickly fires it back out. 4-1, Montreal leading. Vadnais to Johnstone. Robinson is there to poke it to center ice. Now Lemaire to Napier. Mark Napier shooting high off the glass. Vadnais has it for the Rangers. Cleared to center. Chартroù at his own line to Napier. Flipping one in. Vadnais, who's played an awful lot of hockey on that Ranger defense tonight and in the series, back to get it for Sheehan. Sheehan drops it back for Maloney. Dave Maloney out to Pat Hickey. Hickey skated out by Lamberт. And Lamberт shoots it back in. Vadnais tries as the Rangers are frustrated to this point by the Canadiens' great checking here in the third period. Now here's Robinson to Houle. Davidson comes out. Houle knocked it down, centered. The net was open, but no Canadian player could get in position. Here's Robinson. Flips it to the corner. Vadnais on right wing for Lucien Deblois. Got it outside the line, and Robinson for Montreal flips it back in. Knocked down by Vadnais, and it was hit with a high stick, and play is stopped.
Gary Dornhofer is still with us. He just hasn't had much of a chance. This is Stanley Cup 79 from the Forum in Montreal.
Here's Lamberт clearing it in for Montreal. Mike McEwen is back to get it. Got it to the point. Lukiak holding it in. His shot blocked in front of the net. Plante couldn't clear it, but now Duguay has it for the Rangers. Ron Duguay to Plante. Pierre Plante drops it back to Greshner. Greshner fires one in. Savard is there for Montreal. To Lamberт, now to Risebrough, who has a break. McEwen chasing him. Risebrough dropped it to Tremblay, and McEwen got back to get a piece of it. Risebrough is no doubt thinking he should have shot now. Here's McEwen carrying it. And it's Tremblay trying to clear it. Now Lupiak for Tremblay. Tremblay for the Canadiens. Gets away from Duguay. Moves across the line, and Vadnais takes over for the Rangers. Lemaire is on top of him. Duguay shot it into the center ice area. Here's Lemaire. He's checked, and Murdoch carries in, but Plante was in ahead of the play offside at the Montreal line.
Largest Montreal crowd of the playoffs here tonight, 18,076. And Steve Bowman, Scotty's team, Gary, tonight, they're really putting on a textbook display, aren't they?
Oh, they're doing everything. Skating, forechecking. I'm really impressed with the way they move that puck. You know, not one player ever stands still. They're always making those little circles. Their defense gets it, and away they go. Picture to watch.
Langway tried to clear it and does into the Ranger zone. Less than 10 minutes in the third period remaining now. Vadnais back of the net, giving it to Dave Maloney. Hedberg gets it to the line. Lafleur checked him there. Hedberg and Lafleur on the boards. Now Vadnais. Rink wide pass to Maloney. To Don Maloney. To Hedberg. Everywhere you see a Ranger, you see a Canadian. Here's Maloney. Back to Vadnais. Vadnais trying to spin away, but Shutt is on top of him, and Vadnais had to clear it. And then Langway is there to clear it, and it goes over the glass.
With the score, the Canadiens 4, the Rangers 1. This is Stanley Cup 79.
Winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy a year ago, and of course, if the series were to end tonight, we'd have perhaps an announcement on that as the puck is cleared into the Ranger zone. Dave Maloney there to get it. Shot it along the boards. Гэйni held it in. Now Vadanen for Hedberg. He got it to Esposito, who got it to center and then ran into Robinson's check. Yarvis comes back for Montreal. Yarvis pulled down by Maloney in the corner. And Maloney wound up on top of the puck, and the faceoff will be in the New York Rangers zone.
Gary, I think the story of this hockey game can be told in the fact that in the last 31 minutes and 12 seconds of play, the Rangers had just 4 shots on Ken Wright.
Well, that gives you an idea how well they're checking. And, you know, it has to be very frustrating for the Rangers. Even they've had a little more time to operate in their own zone, but whenever they pass the puck, all of a sudden there's a Canadian right there, and it doesn't matter where they go or what they do. There's that white and red shirt, and the Rangers just unable to generate any kind of offense.
The Canadiens were very inconsistent through the playoffs, the Boston series, first game of this series, but they got their act together in game 2, and it's the best string of games they've had in a long time, including regular season.
Here's a quick try by Mondieu that went off a stick over top of the goal. Johnstone clearing it, and here's Tkachuk to Vickers. Napier poked it away. Now Tkachuk fired it in. Dryden flips it on the boards for Lambert. Tkachuk trying to drop it back, but the Canadiens intercept, and here's Robinson to Napier, who has a break on left wing. Back to Robinson. Davidson, key save on Robinson. As the Canadiens broke in, and Robinson was robbed by Davidson. Johnstone is there. Around on the boards for Vickers. Chартроу knocking it down. His shot blocked, and the Rangers try and move out. Johnstone. Long shot. Dryden making a glove save. Cleared over to Robinson. He ran into Lambert. Lambert gets it back again for Montreal. Checked by Tkachuk. Back to Vadanen. Vadanen for Mike McEwen. McEwen to Deblois. Robinson was there with the poke check. And back comes Lemaire, who has 2 of the Canadiens' goals, to Lafleur. Shooting, and he blasted a low shot wide of the Ranger goal, bounced all the way back to the Montreal blue line. Here's Robinson to Lafleur. Shoots. Davidson pad save on Lafleur's low drive. Now it is Shutt into the corner and checked by Dave Maloney, and we'll have a face-off in the Ranger zone.
Well, you see the Stanley Cup wins for Montreal, but the last time the team did it here at home was 1968. And between then and now, they have won the Cup 6 times, always on the road. So these fans here tonight, over 18,000, are on the verge of seeing something they haven't seen in quite a while.
Here's Lafleur, a shot from the face-off, and Davidson with a tremendous save, and that shot almost went through him. It was a real rocket by Lafleur.
You know, we had talked about this before. You keep talking about Lafleur's speed, his passing, his checking, but sometimes what's overlooked is how fast and how hard he gets rid of that shot of his, and there was a good example. Davidson's still facing a lot of rubber, I'll tell you. He's hanging in there.
Lemaire, who won that last face-off, ready to take the draw again against Bobby Sheehan. Sheehan gets it this time, and Hickey poked it to the line. Lafleur is there to hold it in. Vadanen takes over for the Rangers. Out on right wing to Deblois. He's checked at the point or the defense by Lupien. Less than 7 minutes to play in the third period. Dave Maloney now back to get it to Sheehan. Shutt cleared it away. Lafleur trying to clear it in. Now it is Vadanen to Deblois. Headmanning it to Sheehan, too far ahead, and Savard for the Canadiens. Back to get it to Tremblay, who tried to feed Lemaire. Mike McEwen has it for the Rangers. Now they work it to Duguay. Dugay's quick wrist shot, riding his stick save. Lupien trying to clear it. Here's Lambert, lead pass. Tremblay couldn't catch up with it, and Mike McEwen has it for the Rangers and shot it to center. Savard shooting it back in, and Tremblay was caught in there offside of the Ranger blue line.
Now, you talk about LaFleur, Gary. The other night he had 11 shots on goal in New York, and Ron Andrews tells me that that's the most shots in one game by one player in a final series, and narrow it right down, since they started keeping track of such things 22 years ago. He had 7 shots in the third period.
It's incredible, and you know, they try to shadow him. They put a man on him, and he still gets in great scoring position and gets that shot away.
Lemaire has scored 2 of the Canadiens' goals. Chартроу and Гэйni the other ones, and for Lemaire is 10th and 11th, which is tops in the playoffs as the Rangers move in and the play goes offside at the Montreal blue line. I mentioned Lemaire's scoring feats with now 11 goals. That's one ahead of Guy Lafleur. Baseball player Gary Carter of the Expos on hand here for the hockey action tonight. Now it is Engblom passing to Tremblay. Less than 6 minutes in regulation time. Langway flipping it in. Lamberт cleared it behind the goal. Mike McEwen for the Rangers to Murdoch. Now Risebrough knocking it down. Here's Greshner to Murdoch and off of Risebrough and over the glass in the center ice area.
Well, you know, Dan, I think we should give a little credit to the Rangers. Whoever thought that they would get by Philadelphia and then get by the Islanders? And I think Mr. Pierre Trudeau there ended up with the puck.
Quadruel up in one of the boxes here at the Forum, the assistant coach of the Canadiens. We're down to 5:42 left in the third period. A long bouncing shot. Davidson setting it up, and Mike McEwen has it for New York. To Greshner. Headmanning to Duguay. Now Plot tried to poke it back to Duguay, but Jarvis is there as the Canadiens are relentless here in this one tonight. Greshner back for the Rangers. Now Plot in front of his own net, but McEwen is there. And McEwen tries to move out of there for New York to Greshner. To Murdoch. Over to Duguay, and the play is called back on a 2-line offside from inside the Ranger blue line. Live from the Forum in Montreal, the Stanley Cup. The man they call the Flower, Guy Lafleur of the Canadiens. 10 goals in the playoffs. Now, from the faceoff, Vadanen clearing the puck down the ice. Someone has thrown another puck onto the ice. Chартроу going back to get it, and as he touches it, icing is called, and someone has thrown another puck onto the ice. And that is now retrieved by Larry Robinson. They've had it most of this game anyway.
Right, maybe that was Freddie Sherrill. It's been very frustrating, but as we had said before, the Rangers certainly have nothing to be ashamed of. Many experts never figured they'd be in the finals, and with their young players, this experience in playing in the finals will be very valuable to them in many years to come. But this series belongs to Montreal, and after the Rangers beat them the first game, they got their act together, and we've seen some great hockey and how it should be played.
The Canadiens are just 4 minutes 59 seconds away from winning their 22nd Stanley Cup in their illustrious history. Here's Vadanen passing it out on the wing to Don Maloney. Chартроу breaks it up, shot it right to the Ranger line. Now Vadanen backhanding one in. Dryden cleared it on the boards. Esposito is there. He centered. And Jarvis gets it to Гэйni. Now to Houle. Régin Houle flips one in. Jarvis digs into the corner with Vadanen. And they fall on top of the puck, and the faceoff will be in the New York Ranger zone.
You know, I keep looking at that Canadian bench there, and the players, they keep looking at that clock, and they know it won't be very long now, and they will have that Stanley Cup right in their own backyard.
In this, the third period, the Canadiens have outshot the Rangers 6-2, and on the game 29-13, and have a 4-1 lead. Here's Vickers passing it, intercepted by Shutt. He gets it for Lafleur, but McEwen is there for New York. Now Shutt backhanding one in. Mike McEwen is back to pick it up. Here's McEwen, number 27 for New York, to Johnstone. Ed Johnstone shoots one in. Vickers goes in after it. Cleared it in behind the net. Johnstone is there. Centers to Vickers, cleared by Lupia. The Rangers try and hold it in. Now Lemaire breaking a stick, cleared it with his hand ahead to LaFleur, and that causes the stoppage in play with 3:58 now left in the third period.
You know, Dan, as I look back, that 7th game against the Boston Bruins, very close, the Canadiens being eliminated, but here they are on the verge of winning another Stanley Cup.
Canadiens in this game came out of the first period tied 1-1. Chартроу scoring for Montreal, Vardness for the Rangers. Then Lemaire's blast from outside the blue line at 1:02 of the second period made it 2-1. Гэйni scored at 11:01 of the second to make it 3-1. Lemaire again at 18:49 of the third, or of the second, to make it 4-1. And here in the third, neither team scoring yet. Here the Canadiens. Houle shoots one. Davidson glove save as Houle got away a quick shot. And you know, we've had information in the last couple of games that Davidson may be playing a little bit hurt. Rangers haven't said very much about it. Neither is Davidson. Here he has a knee problem. He's played very well considering that.
Here he picked one off with that glove of his, but I talked to Mike Nicolak for the same thing, and he said that he just has a bruised knee, and he's able to perform 100%, but Davidson, he wasn't about to say anything.
On the face-off, it comes to Robinson, firing it in behind the Ranger goal. Greshner is there for New York. Out to Johnstone. He couldn't get it by shot, and it bounces up over the board at the Ranger blue line, and that's where the face-off will be as we look at Fred Shero. Shero, in his first year with the Rangers, has guided his team into the playoffs and then into the Stanley Cup Finals. But they are trailing here to the Canadiens with 3.5 minutes left in regulation time. 4-1 Montreal. Here's Vickers. Passing to Johnstone. Johnstone and Robinson fight for it. Behind the net, Dryden out of the goal to clear it away. Now Lemaire flipping it, and he flipped it all the way down the ice. LaFleur going down after it. McEwen gets to it, and McEwen trying to hold it there. LaFleur won't let him. Greshner then ties up LaFleur, and the Rangers' McEwen now fires it out on left wing, and here's Hickey. Hickey trying to go around Engblom. Banned on a shot. Now Hickey shoots one from a sharp angle. Dryden cleared it away, and the Rangers try and hold it in, but are unsuccessful as LaFleur takes over to Lemaire. There's a 3-on-2 Montreal break to LaFleur. Shoots one, and he missed by a couple of feet. DeBlois comes back, trying to work around Robinson. DeBlois tied up by Robinson. Napier got the puck. He couldn't control it. Comes in front. Engblom is there to Napier. And number 31, Mark Napier, comes to center. Napier trying to go around Maloney, does. Backhander. And he shot it wide after some nifty moves by Mark Napier. Sheehan check. Here's Napier again. Maloney stepped into him. Now the puck in the center ice area, going to be a penalty against the Canadiens. Napier. Sheehan on the delayed penalty against Napier, passes to Plante. Plante checked by Engblom. Now it's centered. DeBlois in front of the net. Has it for New York. To Plante. Plante for New York on this delayed penalty. Now Napier gets it and cleared it down the ice, and now the penalty is called. Only the third of the game, and Napier goes off for slashing. And we have just received word that Bob Gainey of the Montreal Canadiens has been voted the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable performer in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, I can see why. He has certainly distinguished himself and had just a tremendous series. As we just see that penalty to Napier. But, you know, he is certainly a factor out there, killing penalties, his speed. You know, he can take chances in the zones there and still get back in plenty of time, not be caught out of position. And his corner work, his work in front of the net, he's just been an all-around player for the Canadiens.
And Gainey has one of the Canadiens' goals this evening. We have 1:48 to play in the third period. And now the Canadiens are going to be shorthanded. Gainey with 6 goals in the playoffs. And a tremendous goal for Gainey the other night in New York to tie the game in the third period. Now the Canadiens clear at the length of the ice. McEwen is back to get it. Rangers on the power play have one last shot at it here. They trail 4-1 as Duguay moves in. Duguay firing it on the board. Dryden is there. Now Robinson. Check. It's cleared over onto the other wing. Serge Savard. Tied up by two Rangers. Savard gets it loose and flips it down the ice. Davidson out of the net for McEwen. Mike McEwen with just over a minute to play in the third period. Trying to work around Robinson. Checked on the play by Tremblay. Now centered, and the Canadiens break it up. A lead pass to Tremblay. He charges after a loose puck. Tremblay around the net, centered. Davidson stopped that shot as Tremblay came from behind the net. And we're down to 45 seconds left. And Tremblay almost scored a shorthanded goal. Bressner for the Rangers. Carrying across the line. Now Duguay. Backhanding one. In front it comes to Vladner. His shot stopped by Robinson, and here come the Canadiens again. Larry Robinson. Upended. Falls. Tried to drop it back, and Vladner is there to intercept. And play is called, and the Rangers are going to get a tripping penalty with 19 seconds left in the third period. And it is Bressner who is going off for tripping Robinson.
Well, it's all over now, but the drinking of the champagne. I wonder what brand they're using tonight, Dan. I'll tell you, it's a great feeling to win that Stanley Cup. I had the opportunity of playing with the Flyers and two Cup winners, and I know exactly how those players feel out there. A long year, a lot of hard work involved. 20 guys plus coaches getting together after one goal. And to see Fred Shero not changing any expression, but he wears two rings on his fingers, so he also knows what it feels like.
And of course the Canadiens would win their fourth Stanley Cup in a row, the 22nd in their great history, and we're just 19 seconds away from that. And Montreal leading the Rangers 4-1.
You know, Dan, I'd like to see Scotty Bowman crack a smile. You know,
he will in 19 seconds if the score is still the same. Here's Lemaire firing one over onto the other wing. Vladner is there for the Rangers. Kachuk checked by Lemaire. Lemaire is upended. Each team a man short with just 5 seconds left. Johnstone for New York. 2 seconds left. Cleared in. The game is over. The Montreal Canadiens have won the Stanley Cup for the 4th consecutive time and for the 22nd time in their history. A 4-1 victory here over the Rangers, and they win the series 4-1. And the Canadiens are only the second team to win 4 straight cups, and the other team was the Montreal club that won 5 in a row between 1955 and 60. And there you see the Montreal victory series.
Well, a lot of enthusiasm, and the players are throwing their gloves into the stands. Everybody's taking sticks, and it's been a few years since they've won it at home, and they're loving every bit of it. Just a great victory by the Canadiens. And what a tremendous year we had, Dan Kelly, and the hockey has been great, and truly a great team on that ice right now.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. A great hockey team, and they showed the world here tonight that they are. We're awaiting the presentation of the Stanley Cup as the teams line up for the traditional Stanley Cup handshake. And the Rangers, who defeated Los Angeles, then Philadelphia, pulled a big upset on the Islanders, are congratulating the Stanley Cup champion Montreal Canadiens at center ice. And I am sure that those Canadiens will have some extra special words to say to a great competitor, the Ranger goaltender John Davidson, whom most of the hockey experts feel was the main reason the Rangers got into the Stanley Cup final. The Stanley Cup is on the ice, and we are just moments away from the presentation here Ivon Cornwallis, who missed most of this season after undergoing back surgery, is on the ice. John Ziegler, the president of the NHL, presents the Stanley Cup to Ivon Cornwallis in the street clothes and to the acting captain, Serge Savard, with the C in his jersey. And the Stanley Cup again goes to the Montreal Canadiens. And listen to the crowd at the Forum. Held high and proudly by number 18, Serge Savard of the Canadiens. And Savard is going to give it the full route as he now hands it off to Jacques Lemaire, who brings it down to the other end of the rink for the Forum fans. Lemaire scoring a pair of goals here tonight. His 10th and 11th of the playoffs, which makes him the highest goal scorer in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And as we mentioned earlier, Bob Gainey was named the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most outstanding player in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Just the name of the Conn Smythe Trophy winner has the most outstanding player in the Stanley Cup. Look at you, the winner, Robert Bob Gainey.
And the announcement that Gainey has won the Conn Smythe Trophy brings a loud roar from the crowd. And Gainey, just a great hockey player, that plays to the shoulders of his teammates and gets a chance to hug that Stanley Cup. So Bob Gainey, the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy, and the Montreal Canadiens, the winner for the 22nd time of the oldest trophy competed for by athletes in North America, the Stanley Cup. And Messrs. Savard and Gainey head for the dressing room along with their teammates. And we see the dressing room scene, and we see Scotty Bowman and the champagne and the Stanley Cup in the Montreal Canadiens room momentarily, because Savard is holding it up for photographers and letting them get one last shot of this historic scene.
And right now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Vice President of the National Hockey League, Brian O'Neill, who will officially present the Conn Smythe Trophy to Bob Gainey as the outstanding player in the 1979 playoffs. Brian.
Bob, you look like you've been through the Battle of the Bulge here, so I won't take up too much of your time. This is a trophy which is voted on by the sports writers who follow the playoffs, and I had the pleasure of counting those votes, and I want to say to you that it was unanimous, and I think that's the agreement with anybody who has followed the playoffs. My sincere congratulations. It's a heavy trophy. Please take it off my hands. Thank you, Bob.
Brian, it'd be my pleasure to take it off your hands.
Well, my congratulations too, Bob. Well deserved. And I said to Bob, I congratulated him just when he came in. He says the next word is holidays. I guess you're about ready, are you?
Well, Dick, it never seemed like that final game was going to end. It was just a constant twisting of the neck tonight to look at the clock, especially after we had the lead. And it's a long season, and each game doesn't seem to get any easier. And you know, each one gets you closer to the end, but the closer it comes, the further it seems away at sometimes.
Bob, I wondered what the feelings were for you fellas waiting for this game, knowing that, you know, a win on home ice would do it for you.
Well, you know, we're confident at home. We had a good home stand against the Bruins. We felt like we had their confidence broken a little bit, but we knew we couldn't let up. We didn't play quite as well as we wanted the first period in New York the other night, and we were down 2-1. So we put a press on, and we got a couple in the net, and it's tough to come from behind when you're in that position.
Bob, seeing you on the shoulders of your teammates out there, I think that says a lot to me, knowing the spirit on this hockey club, and maybe you can just express your feelings of it, because that's one of the reasons you've been here 4 times in a row.
Well, we have a great team, and we've learned to accept things a little better this year. We weren't quite so completely dominating, and I think it helped us in the playoffs as we lost a couple of games, and we got into trouble. We got down in games, but we seemed to become very versatile and not panic. And I think that helped just the kind of players we have on our team. And just about the trophy, I think if you look at the names on the trophy, you'd find out the majority of them, the guys played on the winning team. And I think that has to say a lot for me going home with the trophy tonight.
Well, Bob, it's a well-deserved honor. Again, sincere congratulations on a great year, and have that good holiday. Okay. Bob Гэйni of the Canadiens, the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy. And here's a fella who, for the first time, really, although I think his name is on the cup, I'm not sure about that, but Brian Engblom has really been a member of this hockey team this year as a full-fledged player, especially in the playoffs. And Brian, I don't know if you have had time to react, but how do you feel?
It's great. It really is. It's hard to catch up with it all. When the final buzzer goes, we were ahead 4-1 for a long time. You think you got the game. You think you just keep trying, going until the last buzzer, and I haven't caught up yet, but we're doing well so far.
Down in New York, you fellas seemed to start to really get your act together in those games against the Rangers.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the first game was a setback, definitely, and we came back. The 4 games straight, it started in New York, and we did a hell of a job there, and we kept coming when we came back here, and we just finished tonight. A great effort by everybody. Bob Гэйni, Serge Savard, Cole, everybody was just playing great tonight, and I think we...
Coach of that awesome hockey club, Phil Esposito, was talking, only the second man in hockey history to coach 4 straight Stanley Cup winners. And Scotty, first off, I know you'd like to say a word about the series we've just seen and about the opponents you've played.
Well, I think we should take a minute, Dick, to mention that you had 5 hockey games without a major penalty. You know, when there's a lot of fighting and everything in the game, they talk about violence, but you have to take your hat off to the Rangers. They didn't try to goon it up or anything else, and that's a lot of discipline from the management and the players, and I think that's what made the series, as far as I was concerned, always nice to win, you know that, but to play against a team that really played hockey, and there was no excuses on their part. They played right down to the last minute, and they've come a long way, and you know, we're really proud to win again.
Scotty, I said on the telecast, I thought these last 4 games, you put it together, your team, probably the best 4 games in a row in quite some time. What was the turnaround?
Well, I think, you know, Dick, we had a lot of emotion after that Boston series, and when you're 1 minute from elimination, that can shake you up for a while. We never really recovered until after we got going after the first game, but, you know, the Rangers were coming off that great win with the Islanders, and you can't take anything away from them in that first game. They deserved it. They made us make the mistakes, but our team had a lot of courage. I think they're proud guys. They've been here before, and the experience they had really did them in good stead.
You had a great year, Scotty, but in many ways, was this perhaps the toughest year you had to coach? Injuries, what have you?
Well, right from the beginning, Dick, you know, we had the change in the management, and we had all kinds of squabbles, well, not within the club, but the club stuck together, and I think that was the